Daimler, Mercedes, Benz, all the way to the 19th century. The pioneers of automobile manufacture at the time were Gottlieb Daimler and Carl Benz. Although the two German men never met personally, they ironically both developed the world's first automobiles in the very same year. However, it wasn't until many decades later that Daimler-Benz would become a thing, and it was a merger that neither Gottlieb or Carl celebrated. Want to find out how the world's oldest automaker became what it is today? Then make sure to keep watching. A little spoiler: you may be surprised to hear that forced laborers and concentration camp detainees unfortunately had something to do with the company's massive success. When we talk about Daimler-Benz, two names need to be brought up: Gottlieb Daimler and Carl Benz. In the black and white photographs, these two white-bearded men look like brothers in spirit, but in reality, they never actually spoke to each other. Yet, they are ironically united by the fact that they both ushered in the era of individual automotive mobility in 1886. On the one hand, there was the patent Benz motor car made in Mannheim, and on the other, there was Daimler's motorized carriage from Stuttgart. This made the fact that they never spoke to each other all the more remarkable, because the invention that put them in the history books could have easily brought them together, since their homes in Stuttgart and Mannheim were less than 100 kilometers apart. But alas, that didn't happen. And while Benz applied for a patent for his three-wheeled motor car, Daimler proudly finished the world's first four-wheeled motor car. Both of the developments were groundbreaking. But while their inventions were impressive, it would take several years before they would find commercial success. The early years of the 20th century were full of new technological developments. And in 1900, Emil Jelinek asked the Daimler Motor and Gesellschaft to develop a new type of car. The vehicle had to be light, beautiful, and fast. In other words, innovative. Jelinek was a big name. At that time, he was the largest dealer in Daimler automobiles, and he had contacts throughout the upper echelons of society. DMG knew they couldn't let him down, and so Wilhelm Maybach was tasked with the job. Considering that Jelinek wanted the car to be fast and light, Maybach decided to design a racing car for him. Jelinek had a habit of entering automobile races under the pseudonym Mercedes, which was also the name of his daughter. So, when DMG delivered their first innovative vehicle to him, Jelinek named it the Mercedes 35 PS. This was the first use of the name Mercedes on a vehicle. Jelinek used the Mercedes 35 PS for racing, and it was a smashing success. The vehicle set new standards throughout the automotive industry. And in 1902, DMG registered the name Mercedes as a trademark. The Mercedes brand was born. Now that we have all of those different names out of the way, let's move on to the next part: Daimler-Benz. Daimler-Benz was created in 1926 by the merger of the world's two oldest manufacturers of motor vehicles, Daimler Motor und Gesellschaft and Benz & C. During the period of 1949 to 1960, Daimler-Benz succeeded in regaining the position it had enjoyed before the Second World War. The German automotive industry was expanding quickly again, and as early as 1954, Daimler-Benz already broke its existing sales record by cracking the billion mark in terms of turnover. The high sales figure became a symbol of the German economic miracle, and the increased development of commercial vehicles reflected high growth rates of the economy overall. Throughout the 1950s, Daimler-Benz almost held a monopoly as the manufacturer of diesel engines, and the demand for Mercedes-Benz cars even exceeded the company's production possibilities. So, to ensure the necessary expansion of capacity, it took over Auto Union. While the automotive industry was subject to sharp fluctuations in sales during the next decade, Daimler-Benz managed to retain its outstanding position. In Europe, it was leading both in the production of cars for discerning clientele as well as trucks and buses, something that's still the case today. With the significant increase in sales and production, the company continued the steady upward trend that had prevailed since the war had ended. And in fact, it was not even interrupted by the oil crisis of 1973, which had been an unusually difficult year for the international automotive industry. Daimler-Benz seemed unfazed by it all, and instead, it managed to continuously extend the basis of its business during the next decades. It was time for a change. Taking advancing globalization into account, the company announced its merger with Chrysler Corporation to form Daimler Chrysler. It was a German-American match made in heaven, and the goal was to safeguard the long-term competitiveness of the companies involved. 1 decade later, however, a general meeting approved the change of the name from Daimler Chrysler to Daimler, with approximately 99% of the 5,000 assembled shareholders voting in favor. Some 2 years later, Daimler had relinquished the 19.9% stake it had initially retained in Chrysler. After the financial and economic crisis, Daimler managed to make a shining comeback in 2010. Its products were in strong demand, and the order books were filled. Many Daimler plants were working at their capacity limit, and the company had double-digit growth rates in all business divisions. In addition, they also continued to drive forward with strategic partners. With so many different products, it became harder and harder to run everything under the same company name. For many years, Daimler-Benz has been dealing with the dichotomy of selling some of the world's most prestigious cars, while also selling commercial vans, buses, unimogs, and heavy trucks. And as it is the largest truck and bus producer in the world, investors have long pushed for it to split off the heavy vehicle operations to free up capital and take advantage of hidden value. In February of 2021, they finally got their way. That month, Daimler CEO Ola Källenius revealed his plans to split Daimler in half by renaming it as Mercedes-Benz and Daimler Truck. This was the story of Daimler. It all started in 1886 when 2 innovative entrepreneurs changed the automobile industry forever. Their companies merged over 4 decades later, and today, Mercedes-Benz is still the main luxury automotive division of the Daimler Group. It has an estimated brand value of nearly $50 billion, and Daimler's yearly revenue is more than 3 times as much.